Welcome to Policing TV. Each week, we will explore the highlights from our latest videos, diving into topics like AI, technology, drugs, and the people shaping the future of policing. The week started with an interview with Matthew Barber, the Thames Valley Police and Crime Commissioner, outside the police station in Milton Keynes, who discussed the importance of community safety and addressed future initiatives, particularly in tackling vehicle crime. In this clip, we hear Matthew talking about the recent increase in shoplifting in Thames Valley and the deliverables he has been most proud of in his time at the helm.
Thames Valley, much like the rest of the country, will face some common problems. We know about the rising levels of purported domestic abuse, the need for really good quality local neighbourhood policing, and that for me is one of the key elements. So I made real commitment the last election and worked prior to that with the Chief Constable to make sure we delivered our crime fighters plan. That's doubled the number of officers in neighbourhood policing, and we're going to go further with another 68 officers being recruited for neighbourhood just this year. And we're also, as part of that, working on things like shoplifting, which we know have been a real concern to the public, have certainly hit the headlines, and we know have a real impact on how safe people feel in their communities. So we've rolled out a new reporting system for retailers in Thames Valley. That has led to an increased report. That's what we want, even though the crime figures have gone up. But the force have responded fantastically, and we've seen a doubling of the number of charges for shoplifting offences across Thames Valley. So overall, we're seeing crime is falling, arrests have increased with more people being brought to justice. So there's some really good positive news happening in operational policing, but we need to make sure that people feel safe as well as actually being safe.
So this is now into your fourth, nearly fifth year as Police and Crime Commissioner. Your first term as PCC, typically it's 4 years, but for reasons perhaps related to the pandemic, it was 3 years, so now year four. In that time to date, what have you been most proud about in the delivery that you and or your teams and or the force has improvements that have been made to the people of Thames Valley?
So I think if we look at the things that have been achieved so far, we've seen a significant increase in officer numbers, particularly in neighbourhood. That has made a real difference. That's been delivered alongside continuing to supply the resources that officers need. Not always easy, but as you can see behind me, we've got new modern vehicles, making sure that police officers got the equipment they need across Thames Valley. That really matters to keeping the public safe. There are some initiatives such as the CCTV network, which we're developing across the whole of Thames Valley. That will make a real difference to having a lasting legacy to providing really good up-to-date CCTV to support the police in their investigations. And we have almost completed the work on a new forensics building in Oxfordshire, which will provide up-to-date support to develop our forensic service. Again, that will support investigations across the board. But the one thing that I'm most proud of is the thing that matters most to the public, that crime is down. That's all that we're really here for, is to make sure that crime falls and we catch the criminals. And certainly the results in Thames Valley have been really positive. We're seeing those headline figures around knife crime go down, but overall crime figures down again this year, and that's really positive.
We next turn to the topic of vagrancy, and our presenter Ben Toomey asked the question, after more than 200 years, is time up for the Vagrancy Act? He was joined by Rosie Perkins, campaigns manager at Crisis, who outlined a slice of history that is still relevant today.
So the Vagrancy Act of 1824, so that's over 200 years old now, makes it a specific offence for someone to sleep rough or to beg in England and Wales, and that is punishable by fines of up to £1,000 or imprisonment. So essentially punishing people for having nowhere else to go and being destitute.
That's the thing about this law, isn't it? I've read the text. It's an act for the punishment of idle and disorderly persons and rogues and vagabonds, which is words that would be wacky and quirky, just a historical weirdness. But it's still being used today, isn't it? Can you give us a bit of an idea of like how did it come about in the first place, and what's the problem with it now?
Yeah, so as you've alluded to there, some of that language I think really reflects like the thinking at the time. So it really arose out of, I guess, a fear of poverty and how people experience it and how to react to it. People coming home from the Napoleonic Wars at the time were sort of roaming the streets across the country looking for income. So it's an approach that is totally outdated and reflective of, something 200 years ago. So has no real place in 21st century Britain. And there's a few problems with it. Firstly, no one should be punished simply for being homeless. Criminalisation does absolutely nothing to actually help people leave homelessness behind. The threat of police action or enforcement measures, can really break down trust in services, can push people away from support and into sort of dangerous settings, riskier behaviour that might help them secure an income. And, we should really remember that begging is as a result of intense and severe destitution. People that we've worked with beg to feed themselves, and rough sleeping is one of the most dangerous forms of homelessness. So enforcement measures against people who are most vulnerable in society is not an approach sort of relevant for society today.
Lastly, we learned from Detective Constable Anthony Jones, a digital forensics specialist with Leicestershire Police's cyber crime team, how their partnership with Telefonica Tech had delivered transformation in digital forensics in law enforcement.
We've gone from a history of having a single allocated resource in IT to support our business area to now a team of tens of people across multiple continents, all vetted, security assured, etc. So we've now got a huge scalable team behind us and the backing of, Telefonica Tech and Magnet Forensics hand in hand to kind of really work with us over the next 5 to 7 years. So,
it's truly transformative when you get it right. I know in North America, we've got tons of agencies. I know there's some great case studies on the website. I know Nashville Metro Police, and actually at the Magnet User Summit, which we host in Nashville annually, we did a tour of the Nashville lab, and people are coming away from that like really, really seeing it. So this is real now. You are days, weeks, sometimes months down to hours to get data from a device into the hands of an investigative officer who can use it. So there's a number in the UK and globally, and I think tons of customers who could speak to this. The reality is as well, it takes planning, it takes some iteration for most. There's some design, some implementation, but the results are there and they are loud and clear for those who've got it right. And I'm sure we'll see.
Yeah, what I just want to add as well, Mark, as well as speaking from my own personal experience with our various different business cases that we've had to submit throughout this process. If we were doing Magnet automation on its own, I can say that we wouldn't be here today talking about the success of this project because our project wasn't approved solely on automation. What really unlocked it for us was that partnership of having the tools working together. And the strongest partnership here is the automation and the web-based review platform. So automate and review working together. And actually the product that I'm most excited about to get in front of our investigators is actually Magnet Review. We've done our Magnet Review onboarding session with a small user sort of test group, and the feedback was phenomenal. It was just like, it was going, centuries ahead of where we've been, which is, running off PDFs and Excels and portable cases to this, multi-user, multi-case, multi-exhibit, web-based review platform. I mean, that's the most.
Thank you for watching. Tune in next week.